And welcome back to Let's Talk Business on CentralValleyTalk.com. This is David Jarrett, who is a retired Visalia police officer, now a certified protection professional.
Yes.
What a mouthful. With Western Executive Protection, which is a part of Pipkin Detective Agency.
That's right.
Can I breathe now? Welcome, sir. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
All of those words I just spelled out, what does that all boil down to? What do you do?
We do quite a bit. Anything that you need to have investigated or any security issues, we can deal with those.
So you're a detective agency.
Detective and security agency. And when I retired from Visalia Police Department almost 5 years ago, Rocky was a friend of mine. He invited me to come to work for him, and I did. Shortly thereafter, we started a security company. We do a small amount of uniform security for events, but we've really evolved into a workplace violence professional organization.
Preventing workplace violence.
Preventing it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully preventing it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to respond to a lot of workplace violence incidents after they've happened or in the midst of them occurring. And there is a real need out there for people to understand what workplace violence is and what they can do about it. Because even though a lot of people will take training on how to respond to the police responding, the active shooter, that's probably the workplace violence type of incident that occurs the least but gets the most publicity.
High profile.
High profile, exactly. And that is responding to a situation after it's already happened. I mean, that's like putting the fire out. Why not work on the other end and prevent it in the first place? And there are ways to prevent this. There's a lot of different things that people can do that they can do themselves with a little bit of training, a little bit of help getting started. They can do a lot of it. And that's what we are trying to help do. I do a lot of security consulting, both in how to secure your businesses, organizations, property, things like that, to how we can better build buildings. There's a concept that's called CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And there are ways that you can design buildings to make them more secure and to maintain buildings. For instance, if this building here had a lot of shrubbery and trees out in the front, that may prevent a police officer driving by from seeing somebody trying to break in. So the maintenance concept of the landscaping portion of CPTED is trim your trees up and your bushes down. You need to be able to see in a high traffic area such as the business here is, you've got a lot of people going by, let them be your eyes to see if somebody's trying to break in. So that's just a part of it. And that works into workplace violence in designing schools. I've been helping on some design concepts in some schools that are in the process of being built, to retrofitting schools now. For instance, one of the assignments I had when I worked at Visalia Police Department was a school resource officer at one of the middle schools. And it was a older style campus. By that I meant there was a lot of different pods, different buildings,
right,
which in that time was the way to go.
That was state of the art back then.
State of the art. But now, especially with security concerns, you want to limit the number of buildings, because it's a lot easier to watch one building than it is 6 or 8. And even though that building may be a multi-story building or a larger building, it's still easier to secure and to watch. And so again, that's part of the concepts that we look at. But irregardless of what your security devices or techniques are, if you don't use them, they don't work.
Obviously.
A comprehensive security assessment is really important in any workplace violence prevention program. And I'm not just talking about, okay, I'm going to go out and see if you need an alarm. When I do the assessments for my clients, I look at what their hardware and software are. I look at their policies and procedures, and then I'll actually go out and test them. An example, a client that I had, a large 2-story building, and it had 17 doors on it, on the ground floor. Only 5 of them were for the clients or customers to come in. The other were for employees only. Out of those employee-only doors, only 2 of them were locked, even though their policy was you're supposed to keep them locked. Most people don't realize the number one most common security device on any commercial building or residential building is the lock on a door. However, that's the number one security device most often not used.
It's left unlocked.
Left unlocked because people get complacent, become in a hurry. And one of the things that, and I understand how people feel about securing or fortifying businesses and schools. You know, I've had a lot of comments, well, we don't want to look like a prison. Well, in the day that we live in, the freedoms and liberties that we take for granted are something we're going to have to really address, because we can't leave our doors unlocked anymore. We can't leave our keys in the car anymore. You know, we have to take some responsibility for those actions ourselves. And with budgets of law enforcement agencies, correctional institutions getting cut back, there are a lot more people out on the streets looking for opportunities to do something bad. And so we as citizens need to take care of things that we can take care of. And actually, most people in the history of law enforcement don't realize that at one time there were no police officers.
What?
Back in the 17th, 18th.
People watched out for themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They would arrest them.
Yeah.
And if you look in the history of England and France, they had people that were paid a reward for arresting people, kind of like today's bounty hunters. But if you had somebody commit a crime against you, it was your responsibility, and in fact, it was the law that if you called me as your neighbor to help you, I had to help you make the arrest and then take that person in front of a constable or judge. And obviously, we've gone way away from that. We have law enforcement officers now, but the issue I see is we rely too much on them. You know, we need more Mrs. Kravitzes. And for those of you that watch Bewitched that are old enough to, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The nosy neighbor.
The nosy neighbor.
You've got to watch. You've got to be aware of your surroundings in any type of security concept. Be aware of your surroundings. Get your face out of your iPad or your iPhone and look around. People are constantly amazed at, I can't believe this person ran up and did this to me. Well, where did they come from? Well, I don't know. I didn't see him. Well, what were you doing at the time? Well, I was looking at texting or something like that.
All right. Listen, before we run out of time, you have a workshop or workplace violence seminar coming up.
Yes, we do.
In Visalia.
Yes, we
Give
do.
everybody the information about it?
Yes. In fact, it's being sponsored by Cal Bennett's and Fresno Pacific University. It's going to be at Fresno Pacific University's Visalia campus, which is at 245 North Plaza Drive, there at the intersection of Plaza Drive and 198.
Okay.
And it's going to be on Thursday, May 22nd, and it starts at 8:30 to 10. It's a free event. We're going to be serving breakfast, and we're going to be going over what workplace violence is, what there is out there for people to help themselves, because there are organizations you can join, there are resources that are free, and then some of the other companies that provide those needed necessities.
Sounds good. May 22nd in Visalia, the Workplace Violence Seminar, and a free breakfast, too.
That's right. And they
Good
can
job.
call, they can RSVP.
Phone number, yeah.
By calling area code 559, and the number is 622-8889. That's 622-8889 for Pipkin Detective Agency, and we'll take your reservation.
Awesome. David Jarrett, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much, Mike.
On CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com